Okay, a very good afternoon to all of you who have joined us today. Thank you for your time and thank you for making the effort to jump into this lunch and learn. It's always a pleasure to see so many people making the space in their day. We had such a big response to the last one, and so many people came and so many people have requested the video that I was pretty much on the phone to Aidan straight away after it saying, can we do Outlook? Is there something more that you could teach us? Because we really want to get the benefit of CoPilot when we have those licenses in place. So without further ado, I will hand over to Aidan. I will make a note that if questions come up for you during the session, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A. I'll try and interrupt Aidan at the right time. If not, we will do it at the end. And in addition, we'll try and land on that half past. For those of you who are running back-to-backs this afternoon, I'm sorry, I feel your pain. We'll set you free, but also hang around a little bit just in case you have some questions that we can be helpful and assist in. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort. And thank you, Aidan, for joining us again. It's a real pleasure. We really enjoyed the last one and we're looking forward to what you have to share.
Awesome. No worries. No, thanks very much, Anna. Great to be here again. God, am I? Is that working? Can you hear me now?
The classic live recording. I can hear. Oh, you can hear Ben. Awesome.
Okay,
cool. It might just be me, Aidan.
Well, we can power on. Please put your thumb up or anything if you can't hear, or if there's any audio issues, we'll try and resolve those on the fly. But hopefully you're able to hear me there. So thanks for confirming that one for me, Ben. Pleasure to be here again. So for those of you who weren't part of the initial meeting last time, so my name's Aidan Clifford. I'm the Microsoft Alliances Manager for Pax8 here in APAC. Get to work really closely alongside the virtual IT department and the team on pretty much everything when it comes to Microsoft, trying to decipher some of the changes in market and trying to understand where the opportunities are to get the most out of your if people can just confirm that they're able to hear in the chat as well. Just really want to make sure that people are able to get that through there. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Elise. Appreciate that. So just want to make sure that people are really getting the most out of the investment they're making today through their Microsoft 365 stack, but then also just seeing where the opportunities lie. So we do see a lot through CoPilot and the AI side of the fence, but we had a great response last time to a more general discussion. So for today, we really want to look down at some of the examples through Outlook in particular and some of the specific app functionality that CoPilot does tie into. So I know it's a pretty tight 30-minute session today. I'm able to stay around for questions at the end if anyone does have any, but please do put any questions into the chat if there's any way I can clarify the content that I'm covering today. For a bit of a quick agenda, I will just cover off the CoPilot opportunity from a high level once more, just to make sure we do have a level set there. I'll go through my experience with the CoPilot side of things when it comes to Outlook, just trying to extract some of the examples that we can utilize, and then also just why we're talking about CoPilot in particular. But as per last time, just want to focus as much time on the demo as possible. So let's get into it. So one of the key parts of the statistics that we're seeing is generative AI has really overtaken the market, really from a buzz perspective, but now it's actually starting to get really tangible in the way that's impacting the overall workforce as well. So Microsoft is doing a lot of studies in the background to see how people are utilizing CoPilot in particular, but generative AI as a theme, how they're utilizing it, but how it's starting to make an impact in everyone's day-to-day. So what we can see here from Microsoft's perspective is they're saying that 75% of people are already using AI at work, which is great to see. A lot of people would be using ChatGPT as a gateway into generative AI and then finding out which way their organizations are supporting them from there to utilize AI. 46% of those in the last 6 months, so the waves are continuing to come. We're seeing a huge amount of support or a huge amount of interest in getting to utilize this and gain productivity through the technology. But something to bear in mind, if we've got any business owners on the call or anyone in charge of their internal IT, they are seeing at the Microsoft side that 78% of AI users are bringing their own AI tools to work. So what this means is that whilst it's great to see the energy and the enthusiasm of people looking to boost their productivity and get more out of their roles through technology, if you don't have visibility into the AI tools that are being utilized in your organizations, there can be potential data leakage risks or security risks that are represented from not endorsed AI tooling internally. So just to be aware that this is a conversation you probably need to have sooner rather than later, as people are bringing new tools to work on their own accord versus utilizing what the organization is providing if it isn't being tackled and supported from a policy perspective. So the opportunity is continuing to grow as well. So we are seeing from statistics that approximately 50% of internet users globally have used generative AI, which is an absolutely mammoth amount. If we see that it was only 2 years ago that there was 100 million users using generative AI through ChatGPT for the first time. So the vast majority of businesses, unsurprisingly, see AI as a top priority, but concerningly, only a small amount of those businesses have some kind of AI adoption plan, which is a great reason to reach out to Anna and the team to talk about how you can increase your AI preparedness, understand where your company is right now as far as its data management and compliance perspective to utilize AI, and then get into the fun stuff. Once you've got that foundation ready to go, understand how we can start to utilize it, and hopefully I can show a few of those ways to do that via an Outlook or email scenario today. But just lastly, before I move on, why are we talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot versus some of the competitors out there? Well, from a baseline perspective, you've got access to the large language model technology, which is really fueling a lot of this large wave of AI adoption through generative AI. Similar large language model where you utilize your natural language to interact with the AI model itself in order to get a natural language or a suitable output from that request back to you. So the actual adoption curve or the change through training that needs to occur to get those initial wins on the board is much lower than it used to be, because we're utilizing the language that we use day to day. We're utilizing the type of requests that we do to our peers and our co-workers day to day through a technology model. So it's really decreased that pace or that requirement to get that incremental change. Where we're seeing Microsoft differentiate itself largely from some of the competitors, so like Gemini through Google, Grok through Twitter, or so ChatGPT itself, is that it's tying directly into the data where it's probably most likely already residing. If you're utilizing a Microsoft 365 tenancy in your organization, Copilot is able to, out of the box, connect into that data already. So you're able to utilize that where your data is most valuably held and where your security policies are already being applied or can be applied if you connect with Anna and the team advice on there. Finally, from there, they're tying in this large language model, the data where it already is, into the M365 apps where you've already probably got the vast majority of your technology experience. If, like me, as long as you've been a student or as long as you've been in the workforce, I've been using Word, I've been using Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, Outlook, and more recently Teams as well. So if you're using that muscle memory, that familiarity, the adoption curve to get the productivity benefits is reducing at each step of the way, rather than I don't know how to use a large language model. I don't know where the data is. I need to connect it somehow. And I don't know what these apps are, which can create what we've seen previously where people invest in technology, but don't get the outputs and don't get the benefits straight out of the box. So this is why Microsoft has such a clear differentiator and unique perspective on the AI motion. But if we're looking at Copilot in Outlook specifically, so we all know Outlook, we all know it's our central port of call when it comes to our emails and our calendar. What can we do within Copilot here? So really just from a baseline perspective, we can start to summarize email threads. We can suggest action items. We can start to generate replies and draft these and follow up on meetings. So it's really utilizing the technology to do the first 80% of those tasks that we do again and again and again. So if we're saving 2 to 3 minutes each time that we're utilizing the platform, you add that up over a month, add that up over a year, you're saving days and weeks at a time, whilst also maintaining the same productivity or even generating a higher quality of output from there. There's more and more ways that they're using their technology to try and make sure that it is cutting through the noise. You're not getting a robotic sounding email when you are responding. There's ways that they're evolving the way that the text is being generated to sort of match your voice, try and come in with your own, understand how you uniquely communicate with others, and then try and draft in that same way. So you don't have to then go through a review too much in order to make sure that you're communicating in an authentic way with your co-workers. You can start following along Teams meetings. So this does tie directly into the Teams usage as well. So through your Outlook calendar, follow a meeting. If you're offline, if you're sick, you're on annual leave, or if you work with different time zones where you're not going to be attending meetings at, say, 1 a.m., which I definitely don't, but may want to follow the meeting and the content, you can use Copilot to do that heavy lifting for you, summarize and recap those meetings through Outlook, but also through Teams. So using the platform that you prefer to get the same outcome for you. You can also speed up on tasks. So I'll try and put these through the demo towards the end. But if you're like me and every time you go on annual leave, you need to remember how to do your automatic replies. You need to find where it is in files. Is it in options? I can't remember. You can use Copilot, which understands the back end of these apps more often than the sort of the beginner intermediate users. So you can utilize Copilot to do a lot of these actions for us, create email rules, move things into the junk folder, turn on your automatic replies. So really reduce down the muscle memory needed to speed up the processes here. And then finally, before I switch across to the demo side of things, we just want to remind around the prompt ingredients. So this is really part of the success curve of getting the most out of generative AI, is thinking about what are the key pillars that I put into a prompt in order to get the best response back the first time. Even though you can interact with CoPilot as you go, have a bit of a conversation to evolve the output, if you get that prompt right from the first instance, it's going to save you time and it's going to get you a better result at the end of the day. So if we think about what is the goal of what we want to generate as part of our response, what's the context? So what is the topic at hand? What's the timing that we want to work around? What is the client or the customer that we want to work in? These are the extra details to give some color there. Then what's the source? Are we looking at emails? Are we looking at Teams chat? Are we looking at all of the above? And what's the date period within there? So we can limit down the parameters. So we're not bringing in irrelevant factors into that response as well. Finally, from expectations, we get to control what's the language that's being used, how are we going to make that represented to ourselves so that it's going to most accurately represent how we want to communicate with the next party, or make sure that we're able to get up to speed as quickly as possible, so reduce down that time to decipher large pieces of information like we've seen here. So that's really what we want to do at the end of the day, use those 4 pillars to make sure we have the right ingredients to get the best outcome from CoPilot or any generative AI. It's pretty suitable across the board with any solution in the AI space. But let's move on to demo time. So I'll stop sharing my screen one moment. I will move across to my Microsoft 365 environment and let's get cracking on some prompts. So I'll just be one moment and I'll bring that across. Awesome. So hopefully I share the right screen here. So as I was talking to Anna just before the meeting got started, one of the opportunities, which is great about CoPilot, is it does immerse yourself fully in the data that you've got available within your organizations. But then on the flip side, one of the challenges it presents me doing a live demo is I try to represent as much as I can from the solution without going too far into the personal identifier information from the PAC8 organization that I work for. So bear with me if some of the ways that I work don't match up with sort of the most logical way to do things. It is just trying to get the most out of something without sort of going into the back-end info, which maybe get me into hot water. But what we want to do from the first of all is we want to start utilizing CoPilot to do an action of summarizing a bulk amount of emails that I get from a consistent party to try and show how we can decipher a whole bunch of emails that have been coming through and get that information as quickly as possible. Where I want to start from this, because there are a few different ways to get the same action out of CoPilot, is I want to go to the top right hand of my browser and open up CoPilot Chat. As you can see that I've got a paid version of CoPilot, it means that I can utilize the web as my source of information, or I can utilize work as my source of information, which is going to start working through information available to me through the PAC8 tenancy, so the organization that I work for. One of the things that I want to do is, so I actually subscribe to some Microsoft related newsletters that spam my inbox at times, but there are some really good ones in there that I want to cut through the noise and get up to speed with periodically when I'm just doing some development or doing some studying. So I really want to bring across a pretty straightforward prompt, but hopefully it's meaningful enough to get the outcome that I want here. And I work through this organization called T-365. Those of you in the industry will know that T-365 does some really good Microsoft updates and really makes sure that it's providing the headlines of what you need to know from a program and technology perspective. Not too relevant for probably most people on the call, but it is something that I do have quite a lot of these in my inbox. What I want to do is list and summarize all the emails I received from T-365 in the past 2 months. So making sure I want to get up to speed with all of the programmatic updates from that period. Pretty simple. Let's go generate this, and going through the work profile, it's going to scour through my emails. So not necessarily directly in Outlook, but definitely related to the emails that I received from there. If I then scroll to the top here, I think it's done a pretty good job of, here are several emails from T-365 in the past 2 months. Here's a summary of each email. So we could make it more specific, like make this into a table or provide 2 dot points to make it even more, the summaries even lighter. But it has done a pretty good job of showing the date that these were sent, the headlines of here, and then the details within these emails. So once again, content probably not too focused for everyone, but you can see it's pretty on point here. It's Microsoft 365 updates, security updates, more security updates, which are pretty prevalent, mapping to Essential 8 and things like that. So I won't dwell too much on the information in here, but you can see it's gone through, if we go back to the start here, the 3rd of April, so pretty much 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And then it's showing through that there is pretty much a fortnightly or every couple of days email from this provider that I can go through and review. So a really good way of cutting through the noise, make sure I don't have to search through Outlook to find that for me, which is pretty helpful. The next thing that I want to do is show that whilst we also do utilize CoPilot in other platforms, so say, for example, recapping within Teams, there's a way that I can work through the chat function in CoPilot to then start drafting emails that'll be able to follow up meetings even more effectively, saving a lot of time from having a meeting, summarizing it, and bringing it across to send that out to my team in order to get the value from that meeting as well. What I want to do from here is I've already had a meeting with a friend of mine, Randy, who works at Pax8. We just had a bit of a chat just about really generic topics. And I did turn CoPilot on, so he saved that meeting. What I want to do is bring across a prompt, and I'll just walk through it, because what we have here is from this sort of demo meeting that I had with Randy, I want to draft an email to follow up from this meeting, include a dot point list of required actions with an owner and a due date from here. So whilst I don't actually have the meeting inserted in here, one of the functions that you can do within CoPilot is always putting a /, and then that'll start to bring up some options of how you're able to then bring company information into that prompt to work specifically in your environment. So I believe I call this Demo Teams meeting, very creative of me. And you can see I had it with Randy back in May between 3:30 and 3:45, so a pretty brief meeting. Once I insert that into this prompt, it'll then utilize the information within that meeting to create this email follow-up draft, which I can then send through Outlook. If I then go through that prompt, let's see what it's able to do for me. If it wasn't able to respond to that today, let's see if I'll just do it one more time. CoPilot has been a little bit funny for me today. I was mentioning to Anna the fun of live demos. I'll just make a quick one. I'll just be 1 second. The demo Teams call, and I'll just do that one, just give it one more try. If not, we can move that one on. So I didn't focus too much on the prompt. I just wanted to go through and just try and get the response from that. Unfortunately, it's not playing ball with me today. I will need to go through and refresh. One of those ones where it did work out in the test format, but we can move on. What I want to do from here is, again, with Randy. So Randy's been a popular friend of mine this week, is I worked with him earlier on a demo email conversation, actually, where what I'll do is I'll work through this email thread. So hopefully this lines up pretty close with what everyone has encountered in their day-to-day. You receive an email, there's about 4 or 5 emails already preceding in that conversation, and then you need to go through, read from the start, go through, find out what that information is, and then scroll up from the bottom, find out all of the other pieces of information, and then try and decipher what the next steps are, what we need to cover off, and go through from there. What we have within CoPilot in this instance is we have a summary by CoPilot subheading in here. So we can click on this. Hopefully we have a bit of luck. Fantastic. And CoPilot has gone through, looked at this email thread. I haven't had any instances with there being too much information in the email thread. Obviously, the more information, the more it has to comb through. So you want to make sure you're double checking if it is missing anything. But let's have a look at the summary that we have from here with CoPilot. I asked Randy for an outline of an upcoming milestones and deadlines for Project ABC to stay on track and allocate resources effectively. I inquired if all stakeholders have been communicated with to ensure alignment and identify any gaps. Randy confirmed that the project is on track to meet all milestones and deadlines by the end of the month, and mentioned an upcoming sync meeting with the customer. Randy also requested the customer's financials and quarterly earnings reports for the executive engagement, and then I offered support in briefing the executive team for the customer's sync meeting. So this is pretty cool. So if we go through, we can go through and verify most of this information if we had the benefit of time, but we can start to see these are the main themes of what we're working through in this information. So from my perspective, it has gone through and combed through it relatively effectively. But what we want to do now is use this information to actually start responding to this email thread. So understanding what has taken place, understanding these milestones, and then communicating back with Randy on next steps. So hopefully doing this faster than if we read through everything manually and had to write everything manually. From that perspective, we'll go up to CoPilot and we'll click on Draft. And then we have our prompt box, which will then give us the opportunity to respond back. If I take across a prompt, and I'll walk through what I've written here in a moment. So please summarize my email chain with Randy about Project ABC in dot points with relevant action items. It doesn't really matter if the spelling's a little bit off, although I try and be accurate at the best of times. Please use a professional tone and thank Randy for his contributions to the project. Let's click Generate on here and see what CoPilot's able to do for us. Awesome. So when you do create these prompts and when you get that first output from CoPilot, you've got the opportunity to keep it. You can discard it if you don't like the output. You can retry, but then there's also some out-of-the-box options to make it shorter, make it longer, change the tone depending on what you want to do with the audience you're speaking to. So direct, casual, formal, like a poem, if you really feel like it. But most importantly, let's have a look at the email and just see how it matches up to what we know about this email thread so far. So first of all, it opens up nice and professionally. Hi, Randy. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to take a moment to summarize our email chain regarding Project ABC. I'm pleased to hear that we're on track to meet our milestones by the end of the month. Please go ahead and share the outline of the upcoming milestones and deadlines, as this will be crucial to staying on track. For the executive engagement, I need the customer's financials and quarterly earnings reports before meeting with the customer. So that's bang on what we were talking about before. And it's great you've engaged the executive team. And we will be having a sync meeting with the customer this week. Please confirm if we've communicated all stakeholders to ensure this. So this is pretty good as far as, like, if we think about the summary that we just received, the response to the email that we want in there, then I'm pretty happy with that one. But just for the sake of it, let's go through and then just make it a little bit longer, see what is going to happen there from this output. We've made it a little bit longer, but we have lost the structure that we were working with before. So we can work back and see if we can just retain that one. So this is an instance where it is a little bit longer. I don't like the appearance of this one so far. I would need to go through and do some additional prompts to change it up and make it a bit more in line to what we wanted before. So I do have the option to utilize the version 1 out of 2, so you don't lose that first version. Let's go back to version 1 of 2. Let's keep that one, and we've got that ready to go as well. So we can send that through to Randy. That email is now ready to go. And so if you think about the speed at which we absorbed all of that information and the speed at which we're able to reply there, then that is pretty good as far as I'm concerned. We are able to then go through and do things like highlight certain areas of our email, click on the CoPilot prompt, and then just say things like, please change the greeting and introduction so it is more friendly. You think about any way that you want to adjust your emails from there. These are just ways that you can take that original draft and then go back in and then make it is a bit closer to the needs that you have there. And we can go through and just replace this if we do like the look of it a bit more. Obviously, it's pretty close, not the most meaningful change that I've put through CoPilot, but it just shows how you can start to make and edit those changes there for you. So I'll just be one moment. I'll just close that one out for you, but hopefully it gives you a bit of an indication into how you can summarize long email threads, recreate that reply, and make sure that you can speed up that task at hand as well.
Just while you're doing that, Aidan, we do have a question from Brett. The longer version looked to contain the same wording, only the setup was different to the original email. Is that normal?
It shouldn't be too normal. What I can do is I'll see if I can go through, see if we can just do that again. One moment. Let's go through and make it longer a little bit. One of the things is because I did ask for that. Oh, I made it longer because I only discard, only highlighted that one bit. Go through and highlight the whole thing and ask to make it a bit longer. It should be a little bit of a longer version. I just want to make sure that it isn't interfering because we have asked for the specific format. That would just be the only thing in mind. The thing about, I think it's added in that additionally if you need further information, we can make it longer again. Usually what I would advise with some of out of the 10 responses though is making it longer, but adding on a bit more of a meaning to why you're making it longer to make it sound more professional, add in more details about, say, the dates that things are due, or the need to make sure that we're engaging executives, whatever the actual meaning behind that email is there.
Awesome. Yeah, so the second example is definitely longer than the first.
Yep. Awesome. So just kind of, and this is going to show that we do try and make sure if you aren't seeing the results that you want the first time, you can put that one through again. Say, for example, with that Teams one at the start that I was having a few errors. I think chances are if I did that again, it probably would have worked, but I did just want to make sure we moved on. But to what I was saying earlier, please try and when you're doing your prompts, think about those ingredients so you're attaching as much meaning as possible to them so that the output is as close. You're not giving CoPilot too much sort of open license because then it can mismatch to what you want it to do.
Another quick question, Aidan. Can we pre-program the sign-off to be the same every time, or is it always going to put its Microsoft best regards in? That's something I've noticed in using the CoPilot feature in Outlook.
Well, let's have a look. We can just say, please change the sign-off. I don't know if you can do that programmatically, but I think you can put that through in the prompts as far as I'm aware. This is when it would start to bring in the features of, say, understanding how you write, that following your style from the slides that I mentioned at the start. So that would be one of the ways that you would, from the administration perspective, be able to turn these features on, because out of the box, it wouldn't be doing those. So that would be something to work with you guys. But if we change the sign off from best regards to yours sincerely, let's hopefully see if that one picks it up. So you can do it probably from a prompt level. Let's just double check that. Awesome. So you can see, we can see maybe the formatting got a bit of a whack there, but it has changed that. Best regards to yours sincerely. But obviously it's a little bit faster if you just went through and deleted it and replaced. But at scale, we'd probably just try and match that tone as I was mentioning just before. Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So I'd say that time is becoming a bit of a factor. So it is a bit short and sweet, these sessions. But what I wanted to show, because I think it's pretty understandable how to go through that summary thing, how to go through drafting. One of the things that does keep a bit of a lower profile is by highlighting your preferences here. You actually got access to coaching as well. So one of the things I was joking with the team about before is writing a very angry email when you're not in the mood, and then going through coaching and bring it back to a more suitable way of formatting it. But it actually is a pretty good feature of making sure that you are sort of within the reasoning of CoPilot, making your emails as engaging as possible, understanding the reader sentiment, making sure there's clarity within those emails as well, but just also having a second set of eyes, even though it's CoPilot, before you send those emails out, if you just do want to have a bit of coaching there. In the instance of this one, it does take certain elements of your email. So say, instead of hope you're well, just changing things to I hope you're having a great day, I hope everything is going well for you, to sound more friendly. Some of them won't be revolutionary, but it does try to give you a bit more of another perspective on how to put these in there. Reader sentiment. The email expresses gratitude and recognition for Randy's contribution, but it could be more engaging to make them feel more valued, which is awesome. So if we change from your input and collaboration is invaluable for our team success, your insights and contributions are crucial for our team success, which does sound a lot better. So you can see where some of these suggestions are going, and it just gives you a faster way to do this and just add a bit more tone and a bit more warmth to those emails as well. So this is when you can start to go through, apply all suggestions. You can dismiss, you can retry, and you should be able to go through and apply to some of those suggestions as well. But I'll just go through apply all just so we can get a bit of a look for it. Awesome, I'll just see that those changes have been made in there. Thank you for your unwavering support and dedication. So just a bit more of a nice warm one, so Randy feels valuable for the amount of things that I asked him to do prior to this meeting today. So I might add that for my next email through to Randy, so he feels valued as a member of the team. One of the last things I just want to do, so it is a bit of a fast one for us today, is just the action side of it. So one of the actions out of Outlook does keep a bit of a lower profile, but is available up here through CoPilot Chat within Outlook. So not to be confused with CoPilot up in the top right-hand corner, which is your CoPilot for web, your CoPilot for work. This is CoPilot Chat within Outlook itself. So I will open up that window and try and expand that so it's a little bit easier to read. But this is where people do find a lot of value in scheduling time. If you've got a busy organization, people's calendars are a bit of a mess. There's a scenario here where you can utilize this chat functionality to find spare time to book in meetings in Outlook as well. So if I said find a 30-minute slot to have a meeting, once again with my friend Randy, by the end of the week, let's see if CoPilot's able to help us out with this scenario.
Is that able to work, Aidan, even if Randy doesn't have a CoPilot license? You can still find that time from your end?
Yep. Yeah. So CoPilot for Microsoft 365 is just a individual assigned license. So it wouldn't matter that he has it on his end. He'll just need to have an Outlook calendar as part of the tenancy. So from here, I can see that this has started to create that Teams meet or that Outlook meeting. I can either send from here, I can edit it. So I should open up another window where I can go through, add Teams meetings in there, add a bit more detail if I need to. Or there was the opportunity just to view that by comparison to his calendar as well, just to make sure it is suitable. Or if it's like you see that he's only got half an hour available, maybe it is a bit mean just to slot an extra 30-minute one there, make sure he's back to back all day. But it is a pretty handy feature as getting working and finding time, especially if you've got a lot of stakeholders and there's a very limited time to organise that. One of the other ones that I wanted to do is you can actually use it to put on your out of office, which is what I was mentioning at the start of the meeting as well. So I'll put a quick prompt in here and just talk through it quickly. So please create an out-of-office message from the 19th and 20th of June, include for sick leave, including a message that I'm currently on sick leave and will respond to you upon my return. Let's put this prompt in and see if it's able to do that for us. Fantastic. So I do have a bit of an ability to edit the times and the message within this window as well. But then if I wanted to, I can also go through to manage settings and then just make sure that it is going to work in the traditional way that you would apply this. Making sure that you can go through, amend that message to make sure you've got your phone number on there, make sure you've got your manager's phone number there, whatever the escalation pathways you could usually use. But you can make sure that these start times and these end times are what you want them to be. But you're able to do that within this window here, which is pretty cool. So you don't actually need to go and waste that time finding in files, finding where you need to do that and double checking. is mostly able to be done through an action within the CoPilot chat experience, which is which I think is pretty cool. The last one that I will do, and it's the last time I get put Randy to work on this call, I think today, but what I wanted to do is just show that you can also do email rulings, which sometimes are a little bit hard to understand, but can be a really powerful way of prioritizing your inbox and understanding, like making sure you don't miss your manager's email, making sure you can prioritize your team members so you can see when they're responding to you really quickly. So what I want to do is go through and say, use my /, tag my friend Randy once again. Please tag all emails I received from Randy Rosley as green. So Randy definitely deserves a raise by the end of this one for the amount of CoPilot demoing he's helped me with, but let's see if it's going through and creating that category for us. So as you can see, it's actually picked up from the back end, the systems and settings I need to put in place to create email rules, which I don't usually do day to day. So this does really help me out. Runs with the name of the rule that I want it to have, so I can amend from there. As a condition, all emails from Randy are categorized as green. I can then go through and add a different tag if I wanted to, add some exceptions if I want to try and tag words or tag subjects in there to be exempt from that, or if I wanted to add other people from the team into this list as well, it'll allow me to do that from that window too. So a pretty powerful way of extending it beyond not just what I'm able to do from an email creation, summarization perspective, but actually look at the power of the app of Outlook, think about where my weaknesses are potentially, and utilizing CoPilot to do some of that heavy lifting to really lift my productivity, especially from jobs that I don't do all the time and where I don't have that muscle memory in place full time. So I think we're just
Awesome.
bang on the half. I'm just bang on the half hour, and I will bring across the final slide there for you. And I'll stick around for any questions, but hopefully gave you a pretty quick snapshot into some of the power of what we're able to do with CoPilot and Outlook.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Aidan. I do have one question here from Sharon that was relevant to where you were, so I'll just throw it in before I speak. Can we use CoPilot to summarize the thematic contents of a shared mailbox? For context, trying to understand volume of and types of issues coming through a customer service mailbox. Good question.
Yeah, so like definitely through CoPilot in general, you would be able to do that. What probably will want to take that one away a little bit just to focus on CoPilot being used as an individual. So if there's an individual with access to that mailbox, you should be able to do that functionality as it's mail that's available to you. But if it's a functionality that you want to share as a team, then there may be a solution through something like CoPilot Studio or through CoPilot Agents, which you do as a task on the side that then the team's able to access from there. So there's definitely a way to be able to do that, to get that value out of summarizing and getting up to speed with that content. But there's probably just a couple of different ways to do it, depending on how the users and how the data is structured within your organization.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering that one. So yes, as Aidan said, thank you everyone for coming. I've got 2 questions which I will ask after this because I'm going to use the session to get my little knowledge increase as well. But so you all know, at the moment, Pax8 is offering 1 month free for every new CoPilot subscription. So if you've been holding off, that's a good way to get that extra value, as well as 15% off when you lock in 10 or more seats. That's a Microsoft promotion. So we can help you with both of those. Pax8 is our channel partner when it comes to Microsoft licensing. They've been a real asset both in the training, but also a wealth of knowledge. And we'll be able to organise either of these promotions, which end on the 30th of June. Of course they do. And help you out. So thank you for coming. And awesome. I'm going to jump on a few questions. You're welcome to go. You're welcome to stay. I do have another meeting that I will eventually run away to. But in terms of the functional difference between a desktop version of Outlook and a browser version of Outlook when it comes to CoPilot, is there a difference between the two? Do you need to be operating in the browser to get the full functionality?
So the reason that I utilize them mostly when I'm running through these demos is through the development cycle from Microsoft. They roll these features out, and CoPilot changes so quickly, they roll them out first to the browser. So just to make sure that I'm showing sort of the latest and greatest version, but then it doesn't take too much longer to then roll through to the desktop version. One thing to be mindful of, and I should have probably mentioned it at the start, is they are rolling the vast majority of these functionalities into the new version of Outlook. I know we all love the classic Outlook, and they are getting combined together over time. But if you want to utilize CoPilot, I do use the browser version because it marries up more closely to the classic version of Outlook, but it would be the desktop version of New Outlook if you wanted to utilize CoPilot more so as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And the other question I had was, if the Teams meeting wasn't recorded with CoPilot, can you still use your forward hash to draft your email responses when you're summarizing, or is that not going to work unless you've recorded the meeting with CoPilot?
You'd at least have to have a transcription of that meeting. Otherwise, the data isn't captured. It's all about like the confidentiality. If you don't want a meeting recorded, then it won't be. But you don't need to have a video file recording if you want to limit down the data. It just needs to be the transcription on, which we do most of the time, day to day, unless it's a like town hall or large scale meeting at PAC as well.
Fantastic. A quick note from Sarah, they haven't been able to get the shared mailboxes to work, but they're keen to understand how. So they've been told it wasn't possible, but that was a few weeks ago. I love that. That was a few weeks ago. You're bang on. It's changing so fast, and functionality's been released every day, Sarah. So we'll be in touch. I'll talk with Aidan and see what we can recommend in that space, both to yourself and to Sharon. Awesome. Any other questions before we sign off? Fantastic. Thank you everyone for coming. As per usual, we will circulate the video. We hope it helps. We hope it gets that little bit extra out of CoPilot licensing if you have it today, or if you're looking at having it in the future, that you'll come in strong. Have a great Wednesday. And thank you, Aidan. Thank you again for your time. It's always appreciated.
My pleasure. No, thanks for everyone. Appreciate your time and have a great day.
Cheers. See you.